Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is Sarah, me, Never Out of Books is my channel name, and I'm glad you're here to watch my video today. I am wrapping up June for you. I read a decent amount of books in June, comparatively speaking, to some other months, so I was pleased with that. And I also get to unhaul quite a few books, which also pleases me. I figured I'd start with the audiobooks that I listened to this month. I don't generally listen to a lot of audiobooks, but this summer it's kind of working out a bit for me now that my daughter's older and I'm driving her to like jobs and spending a lot more time outside, walking, hiking, and things like that. I really am listening to a lot more audiobooks than I normally have in the past. So I'll start with them. I did read 2 audiobooks this month. One of them was the classic 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. When it comes to this book, I don't even really know how to rate it. I think I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads. Maybe I would have enjoyed it more if I had read it in physical form, but I think it still becomes confusing with everyone with the same names and the story of these people's lives in this place. Now, this is supposed to be magical realism, and you know, at the end of the book, I got it. I mean, I got what he was trying to say, but it was just very weird. So, but I mean, I could say I checked it off of my list. I listened to it. It was interesting while I was listening to it, I guess, and I don't have to read that again because I did that. On a more interesting note, I also listened to The Professor and the Madman, A Tale of Murder, Insanity, and the Making of the Oxford English Dictionary. This is read and written by Simon Winchester. It really is about what the title says, but it really is more about the people and the stories of the people coming up to making the dictionary as opposed to how in the world does a dictionary get made, which could be boring. So it was very interesting, and I already knew that one of the men who sent in a lot of information was a madman in a insane asylum. So not a spoiler. I already knew that, but hearing his story of why he ended up being there and the other stories was just very interesting. So it's also not very long, and it's very well written, very accessible, and I do recommend this one. I gave it 4 stars, and if you don't read a lot of nonfiction, I would recommend this. It was very good. On to the physical books. For middle grade, I read the first 2 Wings of Fire books, and they are The Dragonette Prophecy and The Lost Heir. These are adorable stories. Well, I wouldn't say adorable. They are actually pretty graphic on the violence, just saying, for a middle grade series. But they are about a group of dragons who are prophesized to bring peace to the land. And these are the first 2 of the 5 stories arcs. I gave them both 4 stars. I think the world that is built in this is very interesting. It is a human world. There are humans kind of in there, but they're kind of stupid and they get eaten a lot. So love how she made all of the different dragons with different personalities and different cultures, and it's just, these books are adorable. These are great. And as you can see, I'm doing pretty well with the summer romance bingo. In June, I used this pinky color, but I think I messed up one. I think this one, I put the wrong color, so oops. So I read 6 books toward this in June. I'll go through those now. I think that sounds like a good plan. So I read Completely Yours by Erin Nichols. This is a contemporary romance, and this one is for a romance featuring someone in the medical field. Zach is an EMT. This book was a lot of fun. I really liked it. Kiara is an absolute nerdy geeky girl, and she is at Comic-Con, and there's a big accident there and the ceiling falls in, and Zach is part of the one of the people that comes to respond. And later on they end up getting together. That part's a little sketchy because I work in the medical field and that really is a no-go zone. So part of me was a little worried, but the way that they did it made it okay for me. So I was a little worried, but I loved reading about a smart woman and a geeky woman. I also liked the lack of drama in this book. You know, throughout the romance period, sometimes the drama, the lack of communication gets old in romance books. You know, I wish there was another thing that would cause the inevitable breakup that tends to happen in most books. I wish it just wasn't a lack of communication and people just going crazy for stupid reasons. In this book, there wasn't any of that. That was really good. There was potential where she could have done that, and I admire her for not taking that route. This is part of a series as well. I am interested in reading the other 2 books about her roommates. I believe I gave this one 4 stars. I liked it. For the Harlequin category romance, I read Married for His Secret Heir. This is by Jennifer Fay, and it is part of a series, I believe, the Marriages, they're calling it. Obviously, this is a category romance. It's, you know, pretty, says it up there. I got this in a book box. I'm not a fan of the secret baby trope or the oops, I got pregnant trope. This was actually done very well, though. I was very surprised at how much I liked this because it also is a friends to lovers, which I do love as a trope. So these 2 knew each other, and that makes a really big deal for me. I'm not big on like the one night stand, we don't know each other, oops, we're pregnant. That I don't do well with. But they really focused more on their friendship throughout this book, which is something that I am 100% for. And I read it a little bit ago. I think I read it in the beginning of last month, so some of the details are a bit sketchy. But I believe she is actually the daughter of one of the workers on the estate. So there was a little bit of that sort of drama going on because she didn't feel like she was worthy of this, you know, billionaire. But it was a good read. I enjoyed it. I don't remember what I gave it. 3 or 4 stars, actually. I thought it was pretty good. For the subgenre contemporary romance, I read Diplomatic Immunity by Brody Ashton. This is a young adult contemporary, obviously. This is about Piper. She gets accepted to go to a private school in Washington because she wants to be a journalist, and they have a great program, and so she kind of gets into this. And she meets a lot of people who have diplomatic immunity in this school, and all of the shenanigans that they get up to and all the things that they get away with. She decides that she wants to write an expose about these people, and she's using her in as Raf from Spain, who likes her or flirts with her, and so she pretends to like him so that she can get the story, but then she ends up falling in love with him, or whatever it is at this age. I don't know, is that falling in love? Whatever it is. But falling in like, she ends up, and the consequences of all of that. It was okay. I generally like this sort of thing a bit more, but I think I'm really tired of all of the people who want to be journalists in young adult books. I'm overdone with. I'm done with people who want to be journalists. I don't see what the draw is to be a journalist. Maybe that's part of it, but all of these people are just so fantastic, and I think I'm just fatigued with you know, them wanting to be journalists all the time. I'm also a little fatigued with this sort of story as well and plot line. And it wasn't hugely well executed, and so I gave this 2 or 3 stars. It wasn't really for me. I'm tired of this sort of thing. Maybe someone else will like it when I unhaul it. For the subgenre historical romance, I actually read 2 historical romances this month, so I'll just wrap them both up now, because either could be for that box. The first one that I read was Too Wild to Wed by Eloisa James. This is the second book in the Wilds of Lindlow Castle. This is the story of Roland and Diana. she runs away from him to take care of someone's child, and he runs off to the continent and comes back, and everything has gone crazy in his absence. It's their story. As you can tell, I'm not really enjoying Eloisa James's writing. It's just so copy and paste nowadays. She used to be one of my go-to authors, and so it really makes me sad that I didn't love this book. I gave it 3 stars for kind of nostalgia purposes. I probably could have gone more of a 2.5. I will finish up this trilogy, and then I think I'm gonna take Eloisa James off of my auto read list because I'm kind of done now. It's been several books of hers that have been a bit lackluster for me now. On the other side of the coin, I also read Wicked and the Wallflower by Sarah MacLean. Sarah MacLean is becoming one of my auto reads. Her books I am loving. She writes the underworld very, very well. And I have really been enjoying her different series. So this one is the first book in a new series, the Bare Knuckle Bastards series. And there's a lot of intrigue going on, and I bet you we're going to get a whole lot more information in the next books of this series. But Lady Felicity makes this statement that she's going to marry the Duke because she has been an outcast in society, and all she wants is to be back in society again with her friends and be part of it. And then someone sneaks in her window, Devil, who is one of these bare knuckle bastards who lives in the Rookery, or I believe it's the Rookery, and like owns it. And he says that he can make it so that this will happen. And there's some intrigue between the Duke and all of these people. They were all born with the same father, and it's a whole thing. Read this book. It is great. Sarah MacLean is great. I cannot wait for the next installment. And I did not even do a halfway decent job of explaining this book. But you like romance, read this book. And now we have reached the part of this video where I am probably going to rant a little bit, and maybe it won't make sense. I read 2 series that I was not pleased with. For the record, this series is a novel that takes place in a major city. Both of these take place in a major city, so whatever. About a Girl and What a Girl Wants by Lindsay Kelk. There is a 3rd book in this series. I will not be reading it. The first one gave me high hopes. About a Girl. This is about Tess. She is at a low point in her life. She picks up her roommate's phone, accepts a job as a photographer, which is what she used to do for fun, and goes to Hawaii, meets a guy, sleeps with a guy, comes back. She really is in love with someone else. It's like a whole thing. But she meets fun characters. So I have to say, the side characters in these books are a lot of fun. Love it. But then you come to the second book, which is basically just the first book again, with Tess still trying to decide between 2 men, and with the same funky characters, which is fine. I like the fun characters. That's cool, but it's still the same with no resolution. And a cliffhanger at the end of this one, and a cliffhanger at the end of this one, going into the 3rd one, which, at this point I don't even care. You need to figure yourself out and stop doing this crap with these books, with the cliffhangers and the same stories over and over again in order to just sell books. It is really irritating me as a consumer of books to have to deal with this. I'm looking forward to getting rid of these books, and I've heard wonderful things about Lindsay Kelk, but I don't think I'm going to pick up anything else by her because I don't want to be suckered into this same. They're like the same book. They're the same book over and over again, and it's unnecessary. And again, I read that series first. Then I read this. Now this one even though the cover is strange, this actually takes place at the beach. This looked good on paper, okay? Like, just, it looked good. It's about, you know, it's a nerdy book. There's a lot of chemistry jokes. There are two people in a chemistry class together. She is such a nerd. He's like the playboy of the school and somehow seduces her in some way that she goes with him to his beach house. Well, if you notice, part 1. So I get sent this in a book box. I'll have you know, if this tiny, tiny, itsy bitsy thing of a book is part 1, if you wanted to buy the rest of this book, because there are 2 more parts that would make this a complete book, they're $10 each. There is no way that this was worth $30. So I kind of liked them as characters, even though their relationship was way angsty and not a really good relationship. So I read these books. I had to buy them on my Kindle and pay $6 each so that I could finish the story, and I read it. And this is not a complete story. It ends on, I mean, a complete, like, you're in the middle of things and it picks up in the next book, in the next chapter. This irritates me so much. Money, 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 and I hate it. Put out a complete book. Do not do this crap. As a result, she has a series that otherwise I would be maybe tempted to read. She does the bearded Winston guys, right? Penny Reed. No, I'm not doing it. I will not read any of her books. I have spent enough money on her books, and I'm done. This ticks me off so much. So much. So I read that one, Attraction. I don't know, there were 2 other ones. They were Heat and Capture. Just, no, don't do that. That's disgusting to me. That is absolutely disgusting. And I know I've ranted about this before, so forgive me, slight rant. But I'm done. I'm done with these people. There are enough authors who write a book that is a complete book, and I will just stick with those people from now on. I'm very sick of even the young adult books where, oh, it's supposed to be a duology and we're going to stretch it into trilogy and cliffhanger it and I'm so tired of that as a reader. I'm sick to death of it. So beware, because I have like a 0 tolerance policy nowadays. Yes, that's everything. I believe that's about 14 books. It was good, not great. Definitely some irritation involved. So please let me know how you stand on this subject. If there's books I should watch out for that do this awful thing that I've been talking about, if there's anything I need to be aware of, please put it down below. Or give me some suggestions on books that don't do that. I will take recommendations at any time. So I hope you're reading something wonderful that's not irritating you, and I will talk to you later.